are Cantona. I say, ooh are Cantona. That's a song about Man United. I don't know why I did that. Look, it's been a long week. I'm just tired as usual. I'm going to rush straight in and no messing around. We did slash actor and Belgian beer salesman. We talked about Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels last week. Guy Ritchie's debut, and now this is his sophomore effort. I hate that language. Such film magazine language. I don't know why I used it. Snatch. 2000's Snatch, which is I think my presentation of Lock, Stock was I quite like this. It's quite snappy and interesting and a well-made movie, and it's still entertaining and holds up. And I do think the same about Snatch. Duncan, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's it's basically Lock, Stock 2 or almost a remake of Lock, Stock. I mean, but now Hollywood cares, so you've got big Hollywood stars in it. But it's fine. I enjoy it.
It's again. Well, I think the net positive to Val Verde Broadcasting. Duncan's just having a sip of urine there. The net positive to Val Verde Broadcasting is Bricktop. One of the most amazing between this and Armando Iannucci shows. It's the most amazing Alan Ford performance of all. And like you say, this is the one. As someone who desires to sell out, I don't want to be too judgmental, but this is like as soon as Hollywood had a bit of a sniff around his bumhole, he's straight in with Brad Pitt and Benicio del Toro and Dennis Farina. Do you know what I mean? But also, you can't really blame him. It's a bit like if I don't know, if like they just went and put Seth Rogen in Hot Fuzz straight away. Do you know what I mean? It has that bit of a
I mean, I would say this. I think because it's a big ensemble piece, it's kind of like fair enough because he doesn't overstuff it. Like he still keeps. He brings back everyone else, like Vinny. He said Vinny Diesel. Vinny Diesel. That's a weird love child. We just don't want.
I'd love to see that. Yeah,
family driving cars.
Oh, that'd be so much better. It'd be so much better. I'd be all over that.
And so you still get everyone else in there. Statham is sort of bumped up to protagonist, and you got like Stephen Graham. The fantastic Stephen Graham. Oscar, is he Oscar winning or nominated? Stephen Graham, I can't remember. I'm
not sure. I lose track of these like amazing British character actors that suddenly get recognition for things.
Yeah, he's brilliant. He's great. So I think it's fair enough. Like I kind of go like, look, if Hollywood goes, look, we'll give you X million to make it your follow up. You just need to put some stars in it. And I love the way it's sort of like. The sort of hand waved reason is because like for Dennis Farina being there is because he's like part of what isn't he like cousin something, so it's just like
he's Frank Butcher's
so you just
cousin.
get that like the cut shots of the aeroplane down. It's just like done. He's there now, which is really cool. So yeah,
shut up and sit down, you big bald fuck.
I don't like leaving my own country, especially don't like leaving. It's got some very quotable dialogue in it,
I think I still do quite a lot. But for some reason, I've no context for it, but I love just going, Abby! And sit down and shut up, you big bald fuck, as well. Just as I say out of context. It is funny, isn't it? Because it's basically Lock, Stock 2, but not. Because like Turkish, it's basically the same character, but he's got a brown coat. And now he's friends with Steve, and there's nothing wrong with that, like if it works. And I would say when you get to like Revolver and stuff, you can't accuse Guy Ritchie of not putting a bit of variety in it, because the first two are very similar, but then it's like, but you made Aladdin, Sherlock Holmes and stuff. It's just like, okay, fair enough. Like I get that. I think what it has that kind of. I can kind of see what Lock, Stock was trying to do, but didn't quite have the money for. In that this goes in with those kind of like graphics drop-ins and stuff, and you know what I mean. And those kind of you get those kind of title cards and everything, and Lock, Stock kind of does that, but not quite to the same level of flash. I think.
Yeah, it's more polished, definitely a product, but then it would be, I guess, because it's got a lot more money behind it, though. I think it's to Lock, Stock's credit that they don't look too dissimilar, in terms of the quality. They're both up there.
It clips along as well. I think it's just I think I said, did I say on camera? I can't remember. This is the first 18 I saw in the cinema.
Oh, was it? Okay.
It was, yeah, I wanted to go see Shaft because I really loved Shaft when I was in school. The original Shaft movies I really loved, and I really wanted to go see Shaft. And I think that was a 15, and my brother was like, yeah, but Snatch is an 18. And I was like, I can't go to an 18. And I was like a really shrimpy little 16-year-old or 17-year-old. And then we got him because I realised that day that cinema staff don't care, which is something I discovered myself when I worked in one 3 years later, is that they just don't care. Because they don't get paid enough money to care. Which is great.
Yeah. As a kid, you assume them to be the sort of guardians and gatekeepers, who jealously guard those.
Yeah. And some of them are the really tiresome ones. The really boring people we work with are. But the rest. When I was on the Dropbox, I don't give a shit. Like, you could bring a toddler, I don't care. Fuck. How did you see this?
I would have seen it on Verse, I think, on VHS and a video. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how I saw it, or DVD. I suppose it was DVD by then.
Not Dove.
Yeah, it would have been after. I mean, I remember it coming out because I remember everyone was into Lock, Stock in a big bad way, and you kind of had that Brit poppy, through the 90s. You were getting all that like Train Spotting and and Lock, Stock felt of a movement, not that they're the same type of film, but like they had that same look. Even the poster art and everything was very similar.
Black, yellow, and white,
basically. This just felt again kind of part of that. I remember it being like it was a big deal. I remember my drama teachers making some joke about the fact that there was some other euphemistically titled film that came out around the same time. So there was like Snatch, and then there was some
Wizard Sleeve,
whatever it was. I can't remember the Growler,
Punch Lasagna.
Axe wound in an ape's back. So anyway.
That's a strange year for cinema. That was.
I don't know what it was. I can't remember what it was, the other one. But anyway, yeah. So I remember it coming out and being obviously a huge deal. We had the soundtracks. I mean, you just don't do that anymore. But films are such disposable products nowadays. They come and go, especially on streaming. But it was quite a big deal. And I think I must have seen it on DVD afterwards, because I don't think I could have got in to see it.
I think it was a case, wasn't it, that like everybody saw Lock, Stock, right? And it wasn't Lock, Stock 2, but it's and it directed as a follow up, so everybody, and it did come off the end of that. You're very right that kind of much like this 1960s, the 90s was a time of kind of British pop culture going global. Like, say what you like about us, we might be a shower of cunts, but like our cultural stuff has very high penetration globally. And it came off the end of that, didn't it? Because like you say, it's a whole Britpop movement and stuff. And because like Lock, Stock had a few kind of Britpoppy numbers in it as well, and its soundtrack and everything. And again, I think this is the thing where I as discussed last time, I'm a bit tepid on the idea that Guy Ritchie's the British Tarantino, and not because he's not as good. It's not about the quality of the work. I just think it's because, like, are you saying that because he uses pop music? Like, you saying? I mean, I get it because it's crime capers and music and stuff, but like, Guy Ritchie's stuff is very quick and snappy and clippy, and Tarantino's is not that. Like, and it never was. Like, it was kind of slow and measured and dialogue-y. I'm not saying that. Whereas Guy Ritchie's stuff is more kind of quippy and kind of comedy based, and I think that it's very sharp, quick edits. I think
it's more in the marketing. So especially around that time, if you look at something like how things like Jackie Brown and Pulp Fiction were kind of marketed. If you just looked at the marketing and the trailers and just the aesthetic of it, I guess you'd say it's like that. But I know what you mean. The product itself is not. It's not the same at all.
Yeah, I don't know if I said this before, but like, I know this is something that's become, it's got bigger and bigger in the Tarantino oeuvre, but like, Guy Ritchie doesn't really reference other films. Like, I don't in any way. I think that's the kind of defining thing about Tarantino. It's like, it's the kind of reference to other movies and how vital that is to the kind of setup. And I don't. That's not here at all. I just don't see it. Like, it might be the few fleeting things, but and again, there's nothing wrong with that. That's not a criticism. It's just a point of difference. And I think like when something big in American happens, and then someone else says something and goes, "It's the British version of that," and it's like, why? Is it though? Also, is it though? Because I think just someone with money wants it to be that to sell it. And it's like, stop fucking trying to compare it to the next American thing or the previous American thing or fucking whatever. Do you know what I mean? And it never is, and it's just embarrassing.
Usually. I think if you're trying to sum something up in a tagline, though, I guess that's what you do, isn't it? I mean, if you're trying to sell a director, I guess he's the British Tarantino. It's not right, but it is a sort of, I can see why someone would say that. You know, if it's like the elevator pitch version of whatever, you know. Of whatever. I've lost that one.
Or whatever. Or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's. But I think at this time, around this time, I do think end of the 90s, because they made a series out of this, didn't they? And it became
the Snatch series was quite recent with like Rupert Grint, and there was a Lock Stock series, and I think it was American, but it was set in Britain, I think. So just like much like the Lock Stock series, it's just like,
and I think
what is this?
It was just a bit ahead of its time, that, because I could see them doing it now on a streaming platform.
Well, the Snatch show, or the most recent Snatch show, was on some dirt wall streaming platform quite recently. And I was just a bit like, what? I need to check that. I'm sure, because there was did you ever watch the Lock Stock show?
I did, I think, once. It was a long time ago.
Because Guy Ritchie directed the pilot and stuff. And it's like, it's 4 blokes who aren't the blokes you remember, and they have a pub. And this week, someone's stolen a thing and they have to get it back, like in the film Lock Stock. Next week, there are 4 blokes. It's not the same blokes, they own a pub. Something's been stolen, they have to get it back. And it was like every week, it was like, remember like the first season of Smallville, when like kryptonite always went up someone's arse or in their porridge, or like every week it was like that. It was like, oh, we've lost, because in Lock Stock, of course, they lost some guns. I think the first Lock Stock episode, they lost a horse. And then they lost like some porn, and it was like that every week.
Well, this is the thing, is it's like, what's the through line here, really? I mean, why is that? Lock, Stock, and 2 Smoking Barrels. Okay, the smoking barrels are the gun. Lock and Stock. I mean,
well, Lock Stock's about lock. I think it's just because Lock Stock. The saying Lock, Stock, and Barrel means to own something in its entirety, right? But Lock, Stock, and 2 Smoking Barrels, that means guns.
Yeah, I know.
And I really think because they're going to take, the best I can give you is that they're going to take. We should have just done this last week. They're going to take Sting's pub. That's what he wants. He wants ownership of Sting's pub. That's why he's so Lock, Stock, and 2 Smoking Barrels. It's just something that, because Snatch in this is when the guy says to the dog, "Don't snatch," right, and the dog swallows the diamond.
Right. Yeah.
It's the only title drop. It doesn't necessarily mean, but it's the only kind of title drop in it. And it's just, what's good about Snatch is that like you say, it does sound rude because it means a rude thing, but it isn't that.
Yeah.
It's a film that's basically bereft of women, much like Lock, Stock. It's more or less bereft of women.
Woman who works in the bookies.
All
bets are off.
Yes.
Yes.
Zang!
Money Kenya. she's brilliant.
2017 was the
Snatch that's pretty recent then.
With like Dougray Scott and Ed Westwick and Rupert Grint. I just like, okay, fine.
Dougray, I could have been
but just yeah, exactly. What a strange. Yeah, so I'm just sort of like, you've got the brand recognition, but it's basically there is an crime. Yeah, that's it.
Well, it starts, doesn't it, with the heist, so a snatching of gems.
Yes,
and then it's basically again like it may as well be an episode of the Lock Stock series, because it's kind of like something gets stolen, I have to get it back. It's like
yeah. It's got like, because that the thing of them locked inside the bookies is based on a real incident. Did you know that?
Oh, is it? No.
Because they just pulled the door the wrong way.
Right.
Yeah, it's a real video. It's a real thing that happened. So they can't get out because they pull. Firstly, he gets trapped in the thing that goes up, and then the door won't open because they're just pulling it instead of pushing it. And then the driver comes up. That's based on a true story. Like, that actually happened to some guys, which is hilarious. Kind of amazing.
Tyrone. He's in Casino Royale. Actually, Tyrone. Yeah, he's at the,
at
the table.
Okay. Well, you've got like it's a fucking anti-aircraft gun, Vincent. You've got that their little kind of sub story, which involves Goldie, which makes me very happy. And Lenny James. I think it's the first thing I saw Lenny James in, and Lenny James is someone I would fucking love to work with.
He is brilliant. Amazing. Yeah, I think Lenny it's James probably the first thing I saw him in as well.
So good.
I don't know, but no, he's great. Everyone in it is great, actually. I mean, I will say it's a very well cast film. And it's that thing as well of like, oh, you got to put Brad Pitt in it, but it's like he's been allowed to sort of totally disguise himself as someone else.
But which apocryphally was because he couldn't do an English accent.
Okay.
So they would have just made him, geezer number 6, I suppose. But instead they make him the kind of Irish traveller, which pissed off a lot of Irish travellers because they weren't happy with the depiction of themselves in this. Which I got because we used to have a lot of traveller community come to the cinema I worked in. And,
Shit.
What was it? We had so I wasn't working there at the time, but we had a retrospective of Snatch on one summer, and some travellers were just like, this is fucking racist, and I was like, I didn't make it, I just work here. I just shovel popcorn. It's nothing to do with me, please. Because again, people in cinemas don't care, and nor should they. No reason to.
But on nation's pride.
Yeah, it's absolutely. It's a because you and Bremner's in it very briefly as well. I was like, have you been using dog shit for toothpaste or whatever?
Yeah, of course he is. Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Remember? Yeah, because he drags him along. Doesn't he get his tie in the car window and stuff?
That's right. Because
Bullet Tooth Tony, same character from Lock, Stock, but with a different name and golden teeth, which is a great it's a great origin story, when you get his flashback when he's got like a mullet and he gets all his teeth shot out. That's and everything.
Right, yeah, because he got shot in the teeth. What?
He just got shot in the face. He got shot 9 times or whatever. I can't remember exactly how it goes down. And Benicio del Toro is more or less a kind of extended cameo.
Yeah, he's only in the start, isn't he? He's only one of the.
Yeah, because it's got the kind of real Golders Green Jewish community thing. They've decided to fold into it, so that they kind of do the robbery disguised as Hasidic Jews, and then Mike Reed is an alleged. What is it? He's about as kosher as a sausage synagogue, or is that the line from the first one? He's kind of because they constantly say that Mike Reed's character Avi isn't actually Jewish.
Yeah,
they keep making reference to the fact that he's not actually Jewish. Yeah, it's a really strange because it's Dennis Farina and Mike Butcher from. Is it Mike Butcher? What's his character called in Frank Butcher? Frank Butcher from EastEnders together doing scenes. Yeah, it's very which is one of my
it's cool. I mean, I like it, and like Dennis Farina is always good value. Like obviously, it's these people just playing what they play. So it's like he's the mob boss guy. Alan Ford is the mob boss guy. It's like I genuinely think Alan Ford's. I mean, he's going to be remembered for this forever, but it's that sort of he's scary and funny at the same time. You know what I mean? Like he is properly intimidating, and yet ridiculous.
He's that good kind of good charming sociopath bad guy.
Yeah. No, he's
properly Hall of Fame as well. That's Hall of Fame. Everybody remembers Big Top.
It was the most quoted thing, right, from this film. Has to be.
That fucking do you know what Nemesis means is the same kind of tedious twat that would quote
the thing
is
the problem with that is it's like when a righteous infliction and they're like and it's kind of like that's what a pseudo intellectual would or like someone who thinks of himself as a
that's what Guy Ritchie
I wasn't going to name names, but
I was going to name names in this discussion of his film.
What cunt wrote that?
I know I understand why you wouldn't want to do that, but it's the kind of
it's just sort of like highfalutin, high-minded stuff that you're like you don't need to put those words in his mouth particularly. I don't think
it's arch pomposity, basically. And is that the definition of Nemesis?
Righteous infliction of
retribution,
manifested by an appropriate agent or something.
In this instant, a horrible cunt, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
but it's just like, is that because I've always thought I've never bothered look, but that's not the definition of Nemesis. Go on. Let's fact check this 20-year-old movie, 23-year-old movie. In fact, Duncan, how about that? How do you like those apples?
It is the inescapable agent of someone's or something's downfall.
Okay, that's kind of similar. We'll let him off. We'll let him off for owning a dictionary. That's fine. The extras for this is like because I had the DVD of this. The extras. Sorry, I'm very runny nose.
I've had that too.
I've been doing so much cocaine today that it's just all coming straight out. I just
Rivers.
What it was, I had a delivery of rivers of cocaine. I had a lot delivered, and I had to use it all because I'm going to Cambridge. So you know what it's like when all your cocaine turns up. And in Cambridge, we're more of a black tar heroin family, so I'll be doing that when we get there. But as Mum reminded me not to use her best spoons. Oh dear. It's been one of those kind of days. I can't remember what we're talking about. Oh yeah. The extras to this DVD was like because like we all play chess behind the scenes or when we're shooting, and it's just pompous wank. Like I mean, it's like, do you know what? It's just like, I think that's what comes out later in Richie's career is the pompous wankitude, where it's kind of like you've made some really fun crime capers, like, and I'm not saying you shouldn't diversify, but fucking Revolver is just insufferable. But then I've watched, people really like the Sherlock Holmes movies. I've watched the first one and I found it sort of forgettable. I wasn't that bothered by it, honestly. And I'm a bit of a kind of Holmes fan. Like I read all the Strand stories when I was younger. I've read the books of Holmes and stuff, and I think Holmes is something that's open to lots of interpretation. You can do it all kinds of ways, including Sherlock Holmes in the 25th century, or whatever that cartoon was called, where he had a robot Watson. But anyway, I just found it kind of forgettable, and it's a bit like Sherlock Holmes is a superhero and stuff, but it's made in that kind of Guy Ritchie-ish way. It's very kind of like very kind of kinetic and very kind of sharply edited, and
I
stuff
enjoyed
like
it.
that.
I enjoyed the Sherlock Holmes movies. I thought they were good.
Right.
I didn't, because again, if it's what they're made for, isn't it? It's made to be. It's not. It's the kind of. What's the word? I mean, it's the Hollywood version of Sherlock Holmes. Which is perfectly acceptable. Yeah. I think there are plenty of other examples where people have tried to do that kind of thing and failed. So I think they were very good. But I know what you mean. I think it's like I listened to. I think the main interview I've listened to of Guy Ritchie's when he did like the Joe Rogan podcast, and I listened to that, and I was kind of like, well, his sort of philosophy stuff, you kind of go, well, I can see what you mean, and that's fine, and whether or not I agree with you is not the point. The point is like, okay, it seems like something you've considered. Like he talked about his suit and how he has this lovely suit, and it's like, but it should feel like and you should, and that's how you dress, and the why dressing.
Well, is this a metaphorical?
No, an actual suit, but he was like, oh, you have it made so that you could literally sleep in it, and it's that comfortable, and so I like, that's how I liked it. Whatever it was, right? All that kind of stuff where it's like, oh, you think about it, everything's considered, but then you watch Revolver or The Gentleman or whatever, and it's like, geezers, what have fucking guns, and it's like, it's not there. I'm not seeing the connection. It's like Hugh Grant in The Gentleman is an example of like someone who's just been directed to do a wacky voice, and that's about it, all the direction he seems to have been given, and it's kind of like, and to what end? And there's lots of sort of just cul-de-sacs of stuff that just don't mean anything, and I think Snatch avoids that largely, but it also doesn't have the sort of deep subtext that I think he would claim.
Well, this is it, because you watch him talk and he'll go off about like fucking Aristotle, and it's like, what?
And that's,
aren't you the Aladdin?
Yeah, and that's, well, exactly. I mean, and it's fine. It's obviously fine, and it's great. But it's not that he's fine, wrong, but it's just kind of like, what has that got to do with, like, you don't make those films, so
it's the slightly pretentious high-mindedness that.
Well, it's what.
Because it's like what you do really well, but
it's how you would expect Tarantino to talk, right? Because you sort of look at his films and you go, well, like, it looks like someone who's deeply immersed in sort of whatever Nietzsche or whatever.
And then it turns out he just really loves Roger Corman.
He's just like, okay,
which is good.
He's just sort of this manic fucking nutter who loves movies, and he's obsessive about movies, and it's and so it's weird. I mean, and again, not to draw parallels or whatever between them, but it is just kind of one of those. You go, wow, I don't see it in your work, mate. I don't.
Well, this is. I mean, it's and it's like it's fine. Like, you do what you do really well. Let's not pretend that it's some kind of a deep philosophical thing. Or it's like
he sort of
I watched Operation Fortune the other night, the new one. Sorry.
Oh yeah. No, I was just going to say he went off on one in that interview. I remember about the Arthurian legend and demonstrably understood it, but then made a film with David Beckham in it. You know what I mean? It's like, I understand the legend, so I'm going to shit on it by casting a fucking footballer.
Well, this is the thing, though, right? Because he cast Vinnie Jones very successfully.
Yeah, fair enough.
Right, I think Vinnie, he's not the most amazing actor, but he's Vinnie Jones though, and it worked. It's like fucking like, you know, I'm not going to say bless David Beckham because he's a fucking multi-millionaire that lives in a mansion in LA, but like he's a very sexy man. He's a very good footballer. You can hang clothes off him. Have you heard him talk?
Hello, I'm David Beckham. Hello, King Arthur. Do you want to be friends? Am I Merlin? I don't know.
Like he sounds like if Michael Caine was trapped in a biscuit tin. That's what David Beckham sounds like. With helium, yeah. So I forgot he did that. The Arthur movie with Charlie Hunnam.
That's all I call him now.
That's yours. Yeah, I stole that from you. I stole that from Duncan. Charlie Hunnam. Well, I watched Operation Fortune, which has a French subtitle. Operation Fortune Ruse de Guerre, which again it has all this pompous arsery attached to it.
Pompous arsery.
It just like if you programmed an AI with all the shit wankers from your year that hang out at the pub still, that's the film it would make. Like, and it's properly kind of like sometimes it's meant to be a joke, but it's like it gives up halfway through. So it's like it is very. My joke with Duncan is that Bond would be better with single entendres, and sometimes I say you might say I done a fuck in her fanny, right? Because I just think that's fun. It's juvenile, and I just think like, but that's what Operation Fortune's like. It's sort of like it's just really dumb, supposedly witty one-liners, and it's oh my god, and it rips off the fucking end of Get Shorty as well. In a way that's just like, no, you didn't earn that at all. And Hugh Grant is back doing his. He's really good as wacky. He should do wacky Cockney more, and he should do comedy more. I think he's really good at it. You know, but yeah, it sucked. And Wrath of Man sucked.
I didn't see that.
I hated that too. And
he's
and I know best because I sit in my little flat on my own, getting annoyed at things. So.
Well, I mean, he's farting them out at a rate of knots for Prime, I think, isn't he? I mean, they are literally it's like sausage factory stuff.
He is, yeah, and I think because I haven't seen The Gentleman actually, and I've been because I've said other people go like definitely watch it, and I'm like, I don't think so. He's got something coming up called the. He's got something. He's got.
Fine, watch it then. Whatever, I don't care.
I'm not.
No.
And the man. You said you would. The Man from U.N.C.L.E., right? He did the remake of The Man from U.N.C.L.E. with the Armie Hammer and
I own
Cavill.
that. It's all right. It's a very slick, stylish film. It's again very empty, but I enjoy it. It just sort of doesn't really do anything. I'll say.
The slick, stylish thing's what he does well, you know. And I just didn't think Wrath of Man had that. Wrath of Man, stylistic, was kind of empty, and I thought that about Operation Fortune. Le French subtitle as well. It just didn't really have much going on visually, editing wise. He's got something called The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. It's a spy film based on a book by Damian Lewis, which I assume is the actor Damian Lewis. I don't know unless there's an author. Let's just see if it is. No, it's not. It's a different man. It's an author called Damian Lewis. It's quite a normal name, I suppose. And it is a spy film by Guy Ritchie about a secret World War II combat organisation founded by Winston Churchill and Ian Fleming, whose fighters ungentlemanly warfare against the Nazis changed the course of the war and gave birth to the modern black operations. Produced by Jerry Bruckheimer.
There you go.
Right. Well, there's an unholy union, if I've ever heard of one.
Well, bringing it back to Snatch, because we've kind of gone off on one about Guy Ritchie. Do you think Snatch represents a fairly early but nevertheless unavoidable apex of his career? And it's all been downhill from there. Is his career sort of hockey
It's hard to disagree with that. I mean, in terms of his success as a draw to viewers, you know, no, he's made vastly successful movies financially beyond that. I think in terms of what I subjectively view as the quality of the films, yes, I think he had a really good, you know, I got respect him for diversifying. right? Because that's the complaint. You would just make the same stuff. That's what they say about like Neil Blomkamp or whatever. He mixed it up. He Revolver and Swept Away are very, very different from what came before. And it's easy to forget how many movies he's made. He's made a lot of movies. It's easy to forget that. And he's done franchise stuff, so you can't argue with him for that. Like, I think in terms of the quality of the movies, yes. Like, Snatch is such a brilliant... Snatch and Lock, Stock are these really brilliant, fun, sweary Saturday morning cartoons for grown-ups. You know what I mean? Like, that's what they are.
Is he sort of... Would you say he's a sort of a filmmaker on the level of a Paul W.S. Anderson, sort of masquerading as a Tarantino type? Is that fair?
That's a pretty good assessment. Yeah, I would say it's a pretty good assessment. I'd say he's a better filmmaker, again, subjectively, than Paul W.S. Anderson.
Yeah.
Because I think Paul W.S. Anderson, like, his scene construction and his edits really suffer. Whereas if you watch... You can take passages from Lock, Stock and Snatch and analyse them, and they're really brilliantly constructed. I don't know who actually edited them, but it clearly follows a very precise vision, right? Like very precise vision, and I think there's a real kind of mark on them, and I think he is someone who did better with less money. You know what I mean? And I want because it originally as well. The thing that's easy to forget is that Matthew Vaughn produced those first two movies, so they were a duo, and obviously Vaughn's gone off to have his own very successful directing career, which we're going to get onto next time when we talk about Layered Cake with Daniels Craig. I wonder to what degree Vaughn was a hands-on producer, because he produced The Hard Case as well, I believe, which was Guy Ritchie's short that Lock, Stock was notionally based on. So there's that.
Yeah, I think he was first AD on Lock, Stock as well, wasn't he? I think. Yeah.
Oh, was he? Oh, I didn't know that.
So.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So it's because it feels a bit more kind of scrappy and hands-on, but it's not that scrappy because it's got sting in it. But it is, and it was at a time where I think Film 4 really gave British movies a kind of kick up the arse, and I think that's the kind of apex of the resurgence of kind of homegrown British stuff.
Well, there we go.
Yeah, that's it. We've snatched your snatch. Yeah, let's snatch our snatch. I don't know. That was Snatch, Guy Ritchie's 2000 film Snatch. What do you think about Snatch? Why don't you read and like and subscribe to a Twitch? I'm on a TikTok. We're not on any of those things. It's very old.
Like, subscribe, comment
we're
below.
Coming back. Comment below. Oil. We're going to come back next week and talk about Layer Cake, which I don't like.
No, I do.
I've only watched recently. Yeah, so we're going to argue and fall out, and this is how it ends. And then we'll have a big punch up in a car park whilst you'll watch. It'll be live streamed. None of that's true. Yes, all right. So we're going to throw to credits. We love you very much, and we'll see you soon. Goodbye.
Ciao.